Okay, thank you. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the regular meeting of the Zionsville Redevelopment Commission for Monday, May 23rd, 2022 at 6:32 p.m. Zach, if you could do a quick roll call for the attendees of our RDC membership.
Yeah, no problem.
Here.
Ken Ezra.
Here.
Kate Swanson.
Here.
Colleen Hiddle.
Here.
Jacqueline Spillane.
Jacqueline's not available today.
Michael Berg.
Here. Welcome. I'd like to recognize any attendees who would like to be noted here live or online. We'll go live first. If you're not already on the agenda. Thank you. Great. Before we go to agenda item number 3, I'd like to publicly thank Wayne DeLong for his service with the town of Zionsville. He did a superb job all those years with the planning department and also providing guidance and leadership to the RDC. So Wayne has tendered his resignation with the town, but I wanted to publicly appreciate all he's done for this town of Zionsville, and we're in good hands with Zach and Owen moving forward. So we'll have some new faces assisting the RDC membership. Zach, if you could provide an update on the reports.
All right, I'll just touch on a couple of highlights. Cohatch in particular, they just got their temporary CMO. They're working towards finalizing their work to start, and they got their final inspection to start to approve the funds they requested during the design redevelopment. Using remains came back around. They had some innovations that were being done. I believe they're going to be speaking here today, but their construction drawings changed, so they're going back to plan commission to get that approved. We have FedEx coming to the plan commission for parking lot expansion. Metro FiberNet, they have the finished permit come through, and they actually got their okay for the certificate of occupancy. Orlov Racing headquarters is still under construction. They're continuing to do inspections and making some good progress. Many of you have probably driven by and see the building as it's progressing through. Then we have Holiday Farms. They have a number of projects going through planning commission right now. Michael Gets Flats, K Academy, and a replat of Section 2, Lot F28. There are some other projects. If you have specific questions, we can address those.
Any questions for Zach in regards to TIF updates? Well, good, thank you, Zach. Old business, item 4A, we have approval and adoption of minutes. I'd like to table those till the June RDC meeting to allow RDC membership some additional time to review and provide comments if needed. Creekside Corporate Park EDA, lots 10 and 11 term sheet. We were tasked last month to begin negotiations with RFPDI LLC, also known as Graham Rahal. A revised term sheet has been provided to Graham Rahal and his team last week, and we are awaiting comments back. Lots 2 and 3 term sheet with Louth. We have also provided a revised term sheet to Louth Inc. For lots 2 and 3, and we'll await comments back from them. Lots 4 and 5 is Tress. We are still in the process of revising that term sheet and responding to their letter of interest. We also have, I'm gonna jump down to 5B with lot 9, which is Kendall Properties, similar to Tress. We received their term sheet in our town format and are working towards providing a revised term sheet back to them. Lot 7 is with EO Advisors and Cloud Digital. They provided us an introduction to their product for lot 7 at our last meeting. And I believe they're here today to provide an update. And come on up, gentlemen. And some more information on new headquarters for these two entities. So if you could state your name and who you're with and address.
Yeah,
I don't think I need an address. I don't need your address.
no. Good to see everybody again. Appreciate you allowing us the time to speak this evening. Again, I'm with Alex Shortle, EO Advisors, resident of Zionsville. I'll speak first, and then the representative from Plow can then speak on Plow's behalf, and then we can get into kind of the site overview and what we're thinking. So thank you for instructing me. Presentation. No, I'll cut to the chase. So EO, as I've mentioned before, is a boutique investment bank doing sell side, buy side, and strategic advisory work in the Midwest. Currently in our office, we have 6 individuals, projecting to grow to 20 here over the next 2 years. The firm's only 14 months old, so fairly new to our work here under EO, but driven by 3 principles, all been in business now for 20 plus years. Myself, Alex, and Brian, my partner, both started our work in New York, moved back due to family. Brian lives up in Westfield, and his intent is to move to Zionsville once our building is under construction. Third partner is Doug Connor. He's kind of the gray hair of the group. He's been in the business here for about 40 years in the local area, doing both buy side, kind of private equity work, and sell side advisor and investment banking work. Across the 3 of us, the senior bankers, we've done over 100 investment deals across banking and kind of direct invest institutional investments over about 70 years of aggregate practice work. Current and target average salary is going to be 175 to 225,000 across the 20 individuals, and our bike commute target will be less than or greater than 50%. Creekside is right down the street from my house, so very much looking forward to riding my bike to work. One of the things that's very important to us at EO is our pledge to the community. So we designate 5% of all revenue to local nonprofits focused on equity. So providing kind of equal opportunities to all Hoosiers, as we say. And that's 5% of top line revenue, which ends up being quite a bit of money, I think more than we intended. So things are going well, continue to build the firm, and looking forward to hopefully moving to Zionsville.
I'm Greg Phillips, one of the partners at Plow Digital and Plow Games, and I've lived here almost 11 years in Zionsville. I moved from Marion County back in the day and moved up this way to raise a family and have my kids go to the great schools here in Zionsville. Plow creates custom software. We work with all kinds of big clients, McAllen Scotch, IndyCar, and you name it. We work with lots of big Fortune 500 companies developing kiosks and websites and learning LMS modules for training and applications for kiosks and websites for big corporations across the world. Most of our clients are out of state or overseas. We've been in Marion County for 12 years, had an office on the Circle. We had an office on St. Joseph Street, about 12,000 square feet, and one location and down to 6,000 square feet. Then COVID came along and we went to remote and got out of our lease downtown Indy and decided to spread our people across Indiana, and that's what happened. But now we're looking at building an office where we can actually park and stop paying rent and growing into something that we can actually expand on and be part of Zionsville. The team is a group of people, animators and modelers and programmers and software engineers and all types of people would be working on these types of projects, right? A lot of creative types. We do game development for Lilly, and we do game development for companies down in LA, which takes a lot of diverse people to do that kind of work. And so we're really excited about the opportunity to bring those kind of people here, to have them see Zionsville and be part of Zionsville, hopefully move here. I mean, most people we have, they're all over the place, Knowlesville, Carmel, downtown Greenwood, Avon, Plainfield. So I'd love to get them to be part of Zionsville with their kids and families. So super excited about that. Our salaries are a little less than EO, so they're about 70 to 135,000. It's a creative types and programmers coming out of college and working for jobs. They're in the creative business of less than finance. And we do the same thing. We support a lot of not-for-profits and Boys Club and Z-Works and all kinds of foundations here. We try to participate as much as we can here in Zionsville as a team, as a group. And the same thing we did in Marion County and Carmel when we're there. We try to support where shingles are being held at the time. So, yep. So.
I'm Sam Bonrow with Delve Design, architect, working with both Alex and Greg to conduct a feasibility study of their site of Lot 7 in Creekside Park. So here's a quick overview of that site in this context, and one potential high-level master plan proposing what would be potentially between a 15,000 and 20,000 square foot overall building on the site, potentially around 12,500 on a first floor, with the rest potentially below, because there is around 10 foot of grade change on that site. And also showing how we can locate at a minimum 74 parking spaces to accommodate that. I think some of the real advantages of this site that we would want to leverage are working with the topography, the terrain, keeping as many of the existing trees that are healthy that are possible, and then connecting to that trail network to the south of the site. I think that's really important to have that connection to the rest of the trails and footpath to downtown. Looking at a few precedent studies just to give you an idea of the scale, quality, and character of what we propose to be developing. Really just looking at durable, natural materials that are high quality, that will weather well and age well, and really embrace that connection to nature within the trees of the site. And then just a first high level of illustrating, massing what the scale of a 12,500 square foot first floor footprint and a 74 lot car park looks like on that site. Again, nestled into the trees as much as possible and respecting the topography and connections to all the adjacent sites and sightlines. So that's what we have prepared to talk about today. Alex and I can answer any questions that you might have at this time.
Questions?
I have one question, but I don't know that it's really our purvey, but I'm just curious. It's a beautiful building. Could the parking lot go in the back?
It certainly could, and I'm an architect, not a civil engineer. So this is a high level look at things.
I agree, and that's really not our purvey, and I'm just kind of overstepping there a little bit, but
it's certainly worth considering. The one issue that we'll need to look at is that most of the grade change is on the south part of the site, and it's flat at the north part of the site. So, weighing the cost of moving earth is something that we're looking at early on.
But I just think the buildings that we have coming into Creekside, I think should be the centerpiece, and instead of driving in and looking at cars parked. That's just me personal. It has nothing to do with the RDC or what you guys are doing. And obviously it has to work out financially and for everybody. So,
well, and to comment on that, I would assume that the lot is very similar to the one next to it with the grade change. And they do their outdoor seating outside in the back, and it's sort of all windows in the back of the building.
Yeah, that'd be our intent as well.
I walked up
To
basement.
kind of match what's already
Yeah.
there.
And again, trust me, I'm way out of the line here, but I just thought I'd throw it out there.
Yeah, it's definitely a valid point to consider.
I love the look of the building. That's why I want to see the building.
Yeah,
That was not, yeah, we want it to be presentable and people want to come inside.
Any other questions? So the term sheet is presented by EO Advisors Plow.
Yep.
And it's, what does that partnership look like, ownership of the building? You know, I think from last month, you all described some shared spaces.
Yeah.
Within.
And that would be the intent, it'd be the headquarters for both.
Right.
So
Correct.
currently it'd likely be kind of, if you will, two wings. In the center, there'd be a lot of shared space, including some conference space for events, as well as conference rooms. And then, you know, the kind of coffee bar, kitchenette area as well would be shared. So the intent is kind of keep it open and flexible, and because both of our companies kind of thrive in that type of environment.
We have clients that we have new start companies that want to come to this area and move in. And they foster companies, startup companies and SaaS companies, and we do the same thing.
Yeah.
So shared space allows bringing smaller companies into the fold and foster that company within that framework. The building.
Yeah, as part of our work, we do a lot of direct investing as well as incubation work. So we'll have 4-person firms come in and work with us for 3 months. So having a lot of shared space is helpful to that end.
And what will be the relationship, the ownership relation of this?
As is currently contemplated, 50-50.
Yes, 50-50.
Yeah.
The split ownership of the building, use it as an investment component and then also for growth for our two companies, along with other growths. We bring other companies, we bring under our own will be part of that structure. So that's the goal.
So I have to ask, you're providing space and facilities for folks that you're investing in or you're interested in growing. Does this compete with Cohatch?
No. The people we'd be bringing in, we have two companies right now that would need more space than Cohatch. It's much larger. So we bring in people, there's a big game rush we have come in. They're probably bringing at least 10 people in and you be together. And that wouldn't make sense with Cohatch. That scale. Somebody of 2 or 3 people maybe, but I don't see it that way.
Thank you. Good move. Any other questions?
Appreciate
Thank you,
it.
gentlemen. We
Yeah.
have your term sheet.
Yeah.
And I believe we had, did we vote
I
on?
don't remember.
I think we did.
Yeah, we
voted on
this last
you know,
time, yeah.
Moving
Sure.
forward and continuing discussion on term sheets. So we'll be in touch with each other.
Great.
Thanks
Thank
so
you.
much.
Gregory said he was working on it.
All right. Any other items for old business? Good. New business, we have County Road 700 East Tip. We have Matt Price here.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the commission. For the record, my name is Matt Price with the Denton's Law Firm, 10 West Market Street, Indianapolis, Indiana. Here tonight on behalf of 2 entities that are co-developers of the County Road 700 economic development area. The first of which is Jeff Reesner, who's with Scylla Capital and undertaking a project that we've talked to you about a little bit over the last 6-7 months called the Adler Apartments. And then the second component of the project is the proposed Hy-Vee grocery store. And that's the commercial part of our mixed use development. What I'd like to do this evening is just kind of bring you current because there's been so much activity since the last time we made any kind of an update, which was back in January. And so I thought first off, I've given you kind of a consolidated set of materials and a set of handouts. not asking you to digest all of it. Some of it is material that's been submitted before and it's just been updated. But let me just kind of take you through it briefly, and then I'll see what questions you all have as we seek to move forward. First, behind tab 1 is our site plan showing the property at Whitestown Parkway and County Road 700. What you see now really for the first time in the orange shaded area towards the bottom of the picture is the proposed footprint for the Hy-Vee grocery store. They are buying all the property west of County Road 700. So the commercial outlets that you see would also be part of their overall development, meaning that they are not just buying the place where the grocery store is to be located, but buying the entire piece. If you look on the east side of County Road 700, we sometimes forget this, but there is already one project that is up and running, if you will, in the EDA, which is the Get Go Fuel Center. I wanted to just point that out. And then the rectangular piece that runs along the eastern side of County Road 700 is the Adler Apartments project. And that project has progressed since we last met back in January and has received development plan approval from the Plan Commission for Zionsville. So what they're doing now is undertaking the completion of their construction drawings and are really getting ready to enter into the permitting and pre-construction phase. But they have the approvals from the town council and the Plan Commission now all the way through development plan approval. Just to give you a little bit of a flavor of where Hy-Vee is, they came to the property obviously behind the Adler group. And so they're still in their diligence phase, but I believe when we talked to Sanjay in our call briefly last Wednesday, they indicated that they believe they'd have development plan approval as early as this July, which would mean that they would be filing really sometimes next month for a hearing in July. So they're moving forward apace really as well, which is very good. Behind tab number 2, this is a material we submitted to the town back a few weeks ago, back in April, but it's been brought current to incorporate the projected AVs for both Adler Apartments, which is kind of if you look in the middle of that spreadsheet, it says approximate assessed value. The very top line is the Adler Apartments component of the project. And then you'll see underneath that, the various line items, that's the commercial component. You may recall back in January, one of the things we were asked to do is to show the project in a comprehensive fashion as far as the total projected investment. And so that's what this slide, if you will, or sheet of paper demonstrates. And those are estimates from both Hy-Vee directly and from Adler. Adler, again, because they have completed construction drawings or nearly completed construction drawings, their costs are very dialed in. Hy-Vee, again, more preliminary. I can tell you that just based on my review of their materials, they've taken a very conservative tact with those estimates. And we're currently being reviewed now by your financial advisor and working with them to provide additional backup to validate the figures that we've provided behind tab number 2. Behind tab 3, there's a couple of pieces that I wanted to point out. There's really 2 phases of the project. The first phase being Adler, then coming in behind that is the Hy-Vee component. What you see behind tab number 3 in the first piece of paper is the cost estimate and categories for the items to be financed through a developer purchased bond that would support the initial phase of the project. And that totals the little over 5.8 million. Again, those are very current figures based on data and estimates that the development team for Adler has received as they get ready to break ground. I wanted to point out in the next piece of paper behind that, we have kind of 8 individual items of infrastructure that show kind of the interrelationship of the Adler infrastructure and as it relates to the Hy-Vee component. And I think the good news is for us here is that The infrastructure or a portion of the infrastructure that is supporting the Adler project is also a predicate for the development of the Hy-V piece. And so things like the extension of the water line behind item number 1, stormwater. There's actually some additional stormwater costs that are being incurred by Adler in order to free up area on the Hy-V parcel for the square footages that they're seeking for the store. There's a necessity to rebuild a legal drain that's located on the property that again facilitates the development of the Hy-V parcel. Some shared earthwork costs as far as balancing out the site, which is good. Shared design and engineering costs that benefit both parcels. The same engineering firm's been retained by both companies so they can coordinate those activities. Grove Pass, which is kind of the internal road network, and the improvements to it. Some shared utility crossings for both water and stormwater. And then lastly, anticipated improvements to County Road 700 itself that would be required as part of the development that really serve both projects. Then I've just included some historical things really for you to see. Well, one's historical and one, I guess, is within the last month. The next item is we had proffered a term sheet really following the template that was used for the Appaloosa Crossing project for discussion purposes with the RDC behind tab number 4. And that's what you see there. And then the last item I just wanted to include, and I really thought this could just be a resource for you as you evaluate the proposal and as we move forward. It includes the original projections for revenue projections for the Adler component. We'll have a comprehensive set of projections once Crow finishes their analysis, but this was the initial set of revenue figures that were produced back last fall. I just thought it was a useful resource for you all to have in one location. So we wanted to provide that update, give you the opportunity to answer any questions that you have. And really our objective is we'd like to start looking at a timeline really for moving forward. When what we had discussed briefly, and there were no commitments made, so I don't want to suggest that there were any commitments made, but what we talked about on the call last Wednesday with Sanjay and with legal counsel was the possibility of generating or authorizing a timeline to be generated so that you could start seeing when decisions need to be made, and we could start making sure we're hitting deadlines now that we're this close to actually breaking ground. And to give you some idea, the Adler component, for example, is they're going forward. Their project is imminent. I mean, they're going to be completing their construction documents in the very near term, and so having some clarity on these points and knowing that they're on the right track is very important to the success of that project and being able to move forward. So thank you we appreciate very much the opportunity. We were a late add-on, but we appreciate the opportunity to address you this evening and happy to answer any questions that you have. Thank you.
I believe Heather James has developed a draft.
Okay.
Schedule. We just haven't distributed amongst us our membership yet, but
Great.
she has provided a draft. Any questions? And I guess in regards to the $5.6 million is for the infrastructure you've detailed and identified. I appreciate that. We expect to go through this with Hy-V at some point in time as well, correct?
Correct. That's right.
Do you happen to have, and some of what you're doing, what Adler is developing and building is for the benefit of Hy-V?
Correct.
Do you have a ballpark for the Hy-V project in terms of this?
I don't. It's under development now. And to give you some idea of kind of where they are in the process, they have some, for example, drainage improvements that needed to be coordinated with the Royal Run Homeowners Association. So Hy-Vee was in town last week to have that meeting, but since they're still at that early stage of kind of finalizing design, they don't have those numbers yet. So that's something though that we would anticipate providing as we go forward.
Sure, great.
Yep.
You've got a line item, design expenses / infrastructure connections. Can you give some more detail on that?
Yeah. So it's a couple of different things. One is we may be kind of lumping some terms together just for the sake of our organizing our own thoughts, but it's derived from the fact that we're connecting like stormwater detention and retention between the two projects and coordinating that, the reconstruction of the legal drain, the extension of the water line east to west. Those items have all been coordinated so that what we do on the Adler development is a benefit to and anticipates what's needed on the Hy-Vee, so that we're not doing something that perhaps is the most expeditious or least expensive option on one part of the project, but doesn't anticipate what's needed on the remaining commercial piece. So it's those coordination, those connections.
And you may or may not know this. Is this from the water side? Is it Whitestown water or Citizens?
It is Whitestown.
Do we have any sense for what might be planned for the outlets? And is one of them a gas station? I can't tell.
Yeah, I think if you look, the one that's in between lots 1 and 2, I think is a fuel center. You're right. As far as the other outlets, it's I think they're anticipating complementary retail type uses. I don't have a specific like brand name or anything at this point. But as we could certainly, one thing that occurred to me when we were looking at this is we could certainly show examples of other locations to see kind of what the development pattern. I mean, they want uses that don't detract from the investment they're making in the grocery. So they're complementary, but we could show some living examples too for you, help eliminate that idea.
Any questions on the Adler Apartments or Hy-Vee development?
Thank you for the update.
Thank you.
We appreciate it very much. Thank you.
So next on our agenda is a public hearing regarding the confirmation resolution for the Michigan Economic Development Area. And I'm going to look to Matt on, do we open a public hearing at this time? What's our protocol? I believe,
Yes.
I do need to open.
You need to open the public hearing.
Yes, that's right. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Find it. All right, I'd like to open a public hearing for the resolution confirming the resolution of the Zionsville Redevelopment Commission adopted on March 28th, 2022, titled Declaratory Resolution of the Zionsville Redevelopment Commission. This is for the Michigan Road Economic Development Area, an economic development area under IC 36-7-14 and IC 36-7-25. Any comments from the public? Any comments from our RDC? I'd like to close the public hearing regarding the confirmation resolution for the Michigan Road Economic Development Area. Thank you all. Given no public comment, and the process that we've gone through as the RDC, I believe we need to adopt this. Would this be resolution number 01?
I believe this would be resolution, we can double check that.
Okay,
We're getting ready to vote, right?
yes. So I'd like to, any questions in regards to this resolution? Mr. Monroe, great. So 02, we think? We'll go with 2.
I move that we adopt resolution 2, resolution confirming the resolution of the Zionsville Redevelopment Commission adopted on March 28th, 2022, entitled Declaratory Resolution of the Zionsville Redevelopment Commission.
Second.
Motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0. Thank you. We will need to get signatures on. So we've done numbers 1 and 2. We did the adoption of it. All right. Next item is Oak Street TIF, which is the Seek LLC. Zach, if you could give us an update on the issue at hand and what we need to do there.
So I believe we also have a guest online.
Oh, thank you.
My name really is online, it looks like. But more or less, the plan commission, the C project was a parking lot expansion, next, just outside of this area, next door. The plan commission did approve that project, but they wanted to, one of the conditions was that they receive approval from all the property.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
May I present at this point?
Yes, we're getting some feedback.
Yes. For the record, this is Mike Andreoli, 1393 West Oak Street. I'm sorry that I'm not able to present to you in person tonight, but I wanted to address the issues. Are we on the, I assume we're on the SEAC LLC matter?
Yes, sir.
All right, very good. SEAC essentially is requesting permission and consent from the commission in that they have purchased adjacent to their property, which is at 151 Express Lane. As you'll recall, back in 2018, I believe it was, they received development plan approval for their integrated building. SEAC is essentially comprised of Storen Financial and Zionsville Eye Care, and then they have some additional tenants that occupy that building. They determined earlier this year, and actually at the end of last year, that they really weren't having enough parking area. The town has increased the use of the shared lot between the town and SEAC, and appropriately so, nothing inappropriate about that, but they were having difficulties with their customers not being able to park fairly close to the building. So they have purchased a 1.06 acre lot adjacent to their development, as well as the town hall. That is essentially north of Starbucks. It's a 1.068 acres. They're proposing to add additional 33 parking spaces there. And that's just on the southern half of the lot. The northern half of the lot, given that it's got a commercial zoning classification, could be developed at some point. They have not gotten that far, but they're going to put a parking spaces there, approximately 33. They're not going to have any ADA required spaces there. They're moving the ADA required spaces and transferring those to their parking in front of their building so that those with disabilities can appropriately access right in front of their building. In essence, what we're seeking is approval. They're going to be coming in the shared entryway, but they're not adding any additional building. They're not adding an additional sites. They're not adding anything additional at this point. The parking spaces will be dedicated for the SEAC tenants, as well as the employees and owners of Storm Financial and the employees and owners of Zionsville Eye Care. There'll be parking in that particular lot. That will free up additional town parking that is being utilized right now. As I said, there's a common parking easement that runs through that particular area. This will actually create more space, and it will be dedicated for those employees of Storm Financial and Zionsville Eye Care. I submitted to staff, and hopefully you would have a copy of it. A letter that we received, email actually, from Amy Nooning, as we've had some discussions over a period of months with the town with regard to the parking itself. We are simply asking for your consent, as well as being a stakeholder in the area, to allow this particular parking lot to be approved and allow the use of that through the shared common entrance. And as Amy indicated, the town has no objection to that, provided that we use the lot for the employees and owners of Storm Financial and Zionsville Eye Care, and that if we ever developed the northern part of the 1 acre site, we would have to come back to the town and seek additional approval if we're going to utilize that shared entrance, because the shared entrance was based upon the building that was constructed. If there's additional construction and additional access that's going through that particular shared entrance, at that point, we would have to reach an agreement for maintenance with the town, as well as the other stakeholders in the area, to make sure that we pay our fair share of any maintenance with regard to the use of that particular entrance. We originally had proposed a gated entrance. We decided to remove that in the event that overflow parking would be needed by approval through a SEAC, that town or anybody else wanted to use it. They wouldn't have to worry about a gate or anything like that. They just have to get approval to go ahead and utilize that lot. So while it's not being dedicated for the use of town or common area, it will be, being good neighbors, they will work with the town in the event there's any overflow needed for that particular lot for evening meetings and those types of things when they're not occupying the lot themselves. So that's simply it. They're not adding any additional traffic through there, this, that, and the other. And if at some point they seek to develop that lot, as I mentioned, they will have to come back to this board as well as the town and seek additional approvals with regard to any shared maintenance expenses if they add any additional usage to that common entrance. Be happy to answer any questions that you have.
Thank you.
I might raise one other point. They did receive Plan Commission approval for their lot last week. So Plan Commission approval has been given, but we've still been asked to make sure that we get the consent and the approval or no objection from any of the stakeholders out there to be able to continue to use the entry for this parking lot.
Thank you for that update. Any questions from the audience? Okay. I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move that we give them consent, right? Is that what we're looking for?
And I will second that.
Motion and second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Cheers. Thank you. 4-0. Thank you, Mike. We have a recommendation from the Zionsville Community Development Council, CDC, in front of us for the Tipsy Mermaid, a new restaurant looking to open in the village. And in front of you, is there anyone here from from the Tipsy Mermaid. And so the Tipsy Mermaid has presented in front of the CDC a request for $125,000, which Ms. Weber can probably give some more information on it. If you could state your name and agree with it.
Yes, thank you for having me. Kara Weber, president of the Zionsville Community Development Corporation. So I'm here to speak on behalf of and answer any questions about the CDC's recommendation for the $125,000 grant, which I believe you have the memo in front of you. So happy to answer any questions. Just to clarify, we unanimously approved $125,000 to be granted in 3 different disbursement trigger phases, which is a precedent that we've followed in the past. So phase 1, 50,000, phase 2, an additional 50,000, and phase 3, the final 25,000. So happy to answer any questions about this recommendation from the CDC and happy to be here tonight.
And as we have in the past, the way you will disperse these funds are after the work is actually complete. And
That's correct. In 3 different phases. So phase 1 is 50,000, determining once the new grease trap is fully installed. Phase 2 is 50,000 when they are issued a temporary certificate of occupancy. If that is not required, then that would roll into phase 3, which is when they receive the full final certificate of occupancy.
And do you know if they're receiving any other grant funding from the village or the town?
I believe that they are, and I don't know the status of it, but the facade grant, I believe that they might be seeking that as well. Because they went through 2 different modeling exercises of keeping the existing building at 135 Main versus building a new. So it felt like a real win, not only all the increased AV and food and beverage tax, but also the story of helping to preserve the downtown Zionsville historic nature.
Great, thank you. Thank you to the CDC for vetting that grant application for us. Any questions in regards to the grant request and approval from the CDC for Tipsy Mermaid? See a motion. Approval. Do you have a motion for approval?
Oh, I'll move to approve the funding for the approval of the CDC grant to the Tipsy Mermaid.
I'll second. The motion second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0. Thank you. We also have claims for approval. In your packet, there's for the month of May, we have 2 claims. One for $9,500 for the intersection study, Main Street and Sycamore Parkway to A&F Engineering. Some previous time, we did approve A&F's proposal for that $9,500, not to exceed. And then we have a LoopNet $79 charge.
Sanjay, will that be a monthly expense?
The LoopNet?
Yeah. Okay.
Yes. I don't know that answer.
Okay. Zach said he thinks it is.
Thought it was an enhancement on, it was like an annual service agreement of some kind, and then they realized they wanted some other functionality and added an additional piece
Oh,
to it.
okay. Okay.
It's my recollection.
Yes.
Okay.
I think
Let's right.
Yeah, it was, I can't recall exactly what it was.
I just want to say, Zach, thank you for all of the financial information. Did you hear me, Zach?
Yes.
Oh. Oh, Kelly, thank you. This is wonderful to see all of this.
You're welcome. I'm still learning the system, but I know that the Weller funds that I didn't get to, but next month we'll have them all.
Great.
And hopefully but 2021, I don't know if you see any further back or how long it's been, so.
This is the first ever, so.
Yeah, this is, we don't usually see this much financial information, so we appreciate it.
No problem. So let me, you just, reach out if there's more you need or whatever, and I'll just be to provide it and have a little more.
Thank you.
Good, thank you.
Just for clarification's sake, the running total is for all the TIF districts.
No, that's just for this one particular fund. We have 4 others, and I just did not get to them, but I will be happy to do that and then send you out.
But this is one we're paying all of the, all of these
Claims.
claims out of.
It looks
at
like the
present.
grants go through
Okay.
here as
Okay.
well.
Does this have a name, this TIF,
Uh,
I'm just curious.
It's just different funds.
Okay.
But the others do, so there's a. Speed. The others do have a particular name for the particular.
That's fine.
funds.
And all of the claims are taken out of this one fund.
For now, because that's where our expenses are coming from, I believe this is the original TIF
Okay,
for the village area, if I'm not mistaken.
okay.
You know, Kelly, I might ask if at some point, and I know you're getting your feet on the ground and everything, maybe we could, in one of our executive sessions, maybe just take some of your time and just talk about the different funds and things like that. And that would probably,
Really take that time.
yeah, you know, and there's no timeline on whenever you came, you
Okay,
know?
no, I will do that, schedule.
Great.
Thank you.
Move to approve the claims for this month.
Second?
Motion and second, any discussion? All in favor?
I,
Motion carries 4-0. Thank you.
We need to sign this, right?
Yes.
yes.
Under other business, we have the microloan program process at the State Bank of Liston. At the time, we had Mayor Emily Styron as the signatory, and we're removing her from the signatory and adding Kelly Adams as the CFO of the town of Zionsville. Any questions? I don't believe you need to take a vote on that. It was just,
I do have a question. It's not related on changing the names, but I've mentioned this before, I think, and that is, how do we let businesses know that this microloan program exists?
Goes through the CDC, does it not?
Because I don't, do we promote it? How do businesses learn about the microloan program?
We have,
come on up. Thank you.
Great question about microloan. How do we advertise it? How do we get energy and interest built into it? That is part of our CDC agenda coming up. We're having a strategic plan about how to do exactly that.
Oh, great.
So we're sharing the same question.
Okay.
Yep.
awesome.
Yep.
Thank you. Any other business? Entertain a motion to adjourn.
To adjourn.
A motion and a
Second?
second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0. Thank you all.
Thank you. So much paper.